The best Japanese mystery drama of the year is here. A series of murders happened in Tokyo. All the victims are office ladies. The killer likes to slice the victims alive with a dagger. He even puts colored contacts on their bodies. The first murder happened on January 1st this year. Based on the pattern from the first case, a foreign financial worker was killed in Minato. A publishing worker was found dead at her home in Koto. More women from big companies and foreign firms were killed in their homes across the city. If we follow this logic, the killer will strike again on May 5th. The fourth victim has just been found. TV reporter Makoto rushed to the scene. She suddenly felt someone tap her shoulder. A blonde guy handed her a business card. On it was written freelance journalist Hiroki. At this moment, Makoto still had no idea she was the fifth target. The next day, the police revealed the victim's identity, Yuriko, 27 years old. No fingerprints or DNA were found at the crime scene. The strange thing is that guy the killer is always careful, but this time he left a broken bloody footprint. The task force leader gave the order, do not reveal anything about the colored contacts, yet within an hour, the colored contacts news hit the papers. The one who wrote it was the freelance reporter Hiroki. He even linked it to an Egyptian god of revenge and gave the killer the name Horus. It went straight to the top of the trending list. A senior from the news department told Makoto, do not get too close to that Hiroki. That guy will do anything for an exclusive report. He bribes the police, eavesdrops and sneaks photos. He even uses his looks to get info. There is nothing he would not do. Makoto tried to interview Yuriko's neighbor but it did not go well. Hiroki showed up again and followed her. The two had not even spoken yet. When they saw someone paying respects to Yuriko from afar, Makoto rushed over. That person was Yuriko's former co-worker. It turned out that Yuriko was working as a hostess at a nightclub. Mama-san said Yuriko worked here during college. She said that girl worked very hard. She saved every bit of money she earned. In just a few years she bought a house in Tokyo. She even brought her parents from the countryside to live here and paid her younger brother's school fees. She was a good girl. It is really a pity. The two left the nightclub. Makoto reminded Hiroki, do not expose this part of her life. Let the dead keep a bit of dignity. Hiroki smiled and asked, what do you think a reporter should do? Hiroki said stir the public. Keep the case exposed so people remember it, because if it is forgotten, the case will end. Early the next morning, Hiroki's article hit the front page. The TV station's chief director Noda was very upset. That exclusive was supposed to be theirs. Makoto tried to argue. Noda predicted what she wanted to say. He told her to read the article first. Makoto lowered her head and glanced at it. Hiroki's angle was very subtle. He portrayed Yuriko as a hard-working girl, a gentle and filial daughter. Even though she once stepped into a shady job, she worked hard, saved money and got into night school, then moved up to become a finance office lady. She bought a house in Tokyo at such a young age. She treated her parents and brother with care, but that killer, in just one night ruined the 27 years she fought so hard for. Every line of the article was filled with regret. It struck a deep chord with the readers. That night, Makoto asked Hiroki out to talk. She apologized to him. Hiroki generously handed her a drink. Suddenly a gust of wind blew through. Cherry blossoms flew all over the sky. Makoto stood up with her arms open. They say if someone can catch 3 petals at once, the gods will grant that person happiness. Maybe destiny was working in the dark. Among the petals Makoto caught, one of them had already withered. Not long after, she drank too much and fell asleep. Hiroki brushed aside the hair on her cheek. Right after that, his face suddenly changed. At the same time, the task force matched the bloody footprint and found the suspect's shoe model through the forensic center. The drunk Makoto was taken to a hotel by Hiroki. The shoes Hiroki was wearing were exactly the same model found by the police. A perfect match. Hiroki said his sins are heavy, but he cannot hold back this urge. The next morning, Makoto woke up in shock. Hiroki said do not worry, nothing happened at all. Of course something could have happened. Makoto shook her head right after hearing that. She had not showered for 2 days. You can shower here. That is not what I meant. Hiroki stood up. He patted her on the head, then left the hotel and went to the police station. He wanted to ask about the latest progress. Owada from the task force saw him. Are those the killer's shoes? Good timing. Let us run a test. Hiroki rarely got a chance to interview the police. Before Owada could speak, Hiroki asked. This time the killer left a footprint, so you checked his shoes. Is there any other clue? Seems not. Looks like there is none. Hiroki continued asking. Then is there any camera footage? Looks like there is none either. The door was suddenly pushed open. The forensic doctor handed back Hiroki's shoes. Hiroki took them with a smile. Seems like there was no evidence to hold him. After the door closed, the forensic doctor said the luminol test showed no reaction at all. Detective Masakio asked curiously, who on earth is this killer? For murders, and not a single trace left. That is just insane. Owada smiled and said, a forensic expert should be able to do that. Makoto visited the crime scene again. Hiroki still followed her like a shadow. He said he wanted to work with her. As soon as he finished speaking, a woman leaned in close. Makoto ran off looking disgusted. Her senior reminded her again, Do not hang around that Hiroki. To avoid Hiroki, Makoto took a different path and found the father of the second victim, Miss Yezi. She asked if she could do a feature interview. Father Yi refused right away. Makoto put away her camera in disappointment. Father Yi saw the heavy backpack on her shoulders and suddenly thought of his daughter. He changed his tone and decided to give Makoto a chance. Hiroki suddenly appeared. He claimed he was Makoto's co-worker and shamelessly squeezed himself in. Father Ye's first word stabbed straight into Makoto's heart. Just now I mistook you for my daughter. If you cannot interview the family, your boss will scold you, right? Makoto said yes. Father Yi said his daughter worked in sales. She had to watch clients' moods every day and often got pressure from both sides. When Yezi was still alive, she always said she was really tired. Back then he always replied that every job is tiring. But thinking back now he truly regrets it. He should have told his daughter that if you are too tired then take a break. Makoto's boss Noda watched the interview and felt it had no impact at all. First the family did not show their face, and the heat around the second victim had already faded. This footage was useless. Makoto said no. But Noda said a case is entertainment. And entertainment needs to stir the viewer's emotions. Any report that cannot move the audience is trash. Maybe it moved you to tears, but I cannot cry at all. After work, Makoto complained to Hiroki, being a reporter is way too hard. Makoto was not in the mood to fool around. She heard from a detective that the police seemed to have found a vending machine which was near Yuriko's home, and it had a camera inside. Maybe it caught the killer's face. That one sentence made Hiroki's smile disappear instantly. After dinner, he went straight to the crime scene and sure enough he saw the vending machine, but this scene was witnessed by a food delivery guy. Owada opened the vending machine footage. A man in a raincoat flashed by. Judging from the direction he came from the crime scene, based on the time frame, he was very likely the killer, but the distance was too far, so the face was not clear. But coincidentally, a small truck happened to pass by. Its dashcam should have captured the killer. Owada planned to find that truck. Masakio said wait a moment, last night at 8:30, the footage also captured another person. The next day, Makoto received a call from Hiroki. Tonight was Yuriko's funeral. The family would surely attend. Makoto felt if she asked for an interview in that setting, she would definitely get beaten up. Hiroki told her not to worry. He had a plan. The two arrived at the funeral. Hiroki dropped a note into the condolence box. The funeral donation. The family would surely check and record every donation so they can return the favor later, which means they would read the note carefully. And just as expected, not long after, Hiroki received a call. Yuriko's parents actually agreed to the interview. Makoto was thrilled. This was a huge exclusive. Neither of them ever imagined that Yuriko's parents would choose to hold the interview right at the crime scene. Before Yuriko's mother even entered, her whole body started shaking uncontrollably. Makoto and Hiroki followed behind her. The moment they walked in, bloodstains covering the walls came into view. Yuriko's mother collapsed to the floor. More than half an hour later, the parents finally calmed down a little. Yuriko's mother said Hiroki wrote in his note that he did not know if the family should be interviewed or not, because interviewing after a murder is like tearing open a wound that has not healed. But if no interview is done, public attention will slowly fade. The police have many cases. Without public pressure, this case might quietly disappear. The parents felt that Hiroki genuinely cared about the victim, so they agreed to this interview. Makoto asked several questions in a row. The parents cried until they could barely speak. After the interview, Makoto rushed back to the TV station with excitement. She edited the video through the night. But the next day, how can this happen? Makoto burst into the live studio and demanded to know why the topic was changed at the last minute. Noda said the hot search is already dominated by a scandal. A national idol publicly stole someone's husband. Makoto replied immediately, "What could be more important than a human life?" Noda almost burst out laughing. He told Makoto new comes first. New is the most important. Human life comes later. Do you understand? Makoto refused to accept that. She went to argue with the producer, but the producer also said wait until the hype dies down and then air it. I am really sorry. Yuriko's parents were furious. She told them the interview cannot be released before the public airing, then slammed the door shut. Makoto felt extremely upset. What she did not expect was that Hiroki felt even worse than she did. He said those people must be sick in the head. They care more about a third-rate celebrity's daily drama than the tragic life of an ordinary woman. His words stabbed straight into Makoto's heart. The two hugged each other and cried. Night fell quickly. Owada found the truck from the footage. The driver pulled out the dashcam. Masakio opened it and froze on the spot. The dashcam memory card had been completely wiped. Before Masakio could speak, the driver said, "How could this happen?" "Oh right, this morning a reporter paid me to check the footage." The driver said this while handing over a business card. Masakio took a look. The name on it was Hiroki. Owada's eye twitched. The two of them both felt that Hiroki was very likely the real killer. After waking up the next morning, they went to visit the area near the crime scene as usual. Makoto met a high school boy. This kid actually said he saw the killer. Makoto could not help but ask for real. The young guy said he went to the convenience store that night, and on his way home, he bumped into someone wearing a raincoat. That person was very tall. Makoto asked how tall exactly. The young guy pointed with his hand, about as tall as this man here. Hiroki forced out a very awkward expression. Makoto felt this clue was important, but Hiroki said that kid is making it up. The killer is not as tall as him at all. That night, Hiroki was stopped at his doorstep. Owada and Masakio came to get the footage. Hiroki did not hide anything. He did check the dashcam, but he said the footage captured nothing. After that he went straight upstairs. Masakio watched him leave and asked, "Should we take him back for questioning?" Owada shook her head right away. "They have no evidence at the moment." Hiroki went home and opened his computer. The truth is the dashcam did record the raincoat man's face, and that person was none other than himself. Half a month passed in a blink. The scandal of the national idol stealing someone's husband finally cooled down. People turned their attention back to the Horus case, but the investigation made no progress at all. The police were under huge pressure. Makoto accidentally discovered the distribution of the 4 cases was very strange. Makoto picked up a pen and connected the 4 crime scenes together. It formed the shape of the Eye of Horus. What kind of nonsense is this? Hiroki had predicted the killer's behavior. Noda asked what is the point of this? Makoto connected the 4 corners. The center landed right in Shinjuku. She concluded this would be the location of the 5th murder. Noda felt this was too far-fetched, but Makoto trusted her judgment. She went to Shinjuku alone. Walking through the streets checking every camera without realizing someone was already watching her, Makoto jumped in shock. Hiroki appeared out of nowhere like a ghost. Makoto did not suspect anything. She even called over her co-workers and her best friend Kumiko, but the moment Kumiko saw Hiroki, a hint of confusion flashed across her face, but it disappeared in an instant. After dinner, Makoto and Hiroki walked home together. The two wanted to hold hands, but neither made the first move. A delivery guy appeared suddenly. Makoto quickly introduced him. This is Itsuki, a delivery guy who works near their TV station. Itsuki stared at Hiroki, feeling like he had seen him somewhere. He said he had more deliveries then drove off on his bike. The two parted ways at the intersection. Not far away, a man was watching Makoto. Early the next morning, Makoto and Hiroki expanded their interview range. A chubby boy from a nearby district said he had filmed a very mysterious person a few days ago. Makoto said she wanted to see the video. The chubby boy pulled out his phone and asked, "How much are you planning to pay?" Makoto looked embarrassed. Their TV station had rules. They were not allowed to buy clues at will. After hearing that, the boy turned around to leave, but Hiroki stopped him and dragged him into a nearby alley. Makoto waited for more than 10 minutes. Hiroki finally walked out, just when he was about to brag about the video. Makoto said, "What you did is really shameless. Some people will say anything for money, and that will affect the truth of the news." Hiroki did not care because that is exactly the kind of person he is. Makoto did not want to argue. She left in anger. Later that day, Itsuki delivered food to the police station. Masakio planned to buy him a soda, but the moment they reached the vending machine, Itsuki suddenly shouted. He just remembered he had seen Hiroki a few days ago at the vending machine near the crime scene, and that guy turned out to be Makoto's boyfriend. Masakio replied right away, "They are just co-workers, not boyfriend and girlfriend," but Itsuki said they almost held hands last night. Masakio felt completely crushed. At that moment Owada returned. Early this morning, she got an exclusive piece of news from her old classmate Noda. Masakio took a look. This piece of news was quite unexpected. Owada said she is Hiroki's mother. Do not be shocked yet. The first person who found the body was the victim's eldest son, Hiroki. The method looks a lot like the Eye of Horus case. This quickly drew suspicion from the task force, except for the missing colored contacts. Every detail matched the case they were investigating. In Hiroki's mother's case, not long after the murder, the killer was caught, and it was Hiroki's father. Because he turned himself in, he only received 10 years in prison. He was released last December, but now he has disappeared. This was way too suspicious. The first Horus murder happened on January 1st this year, exactly during the period after his father's release. The task force leader gave the order at once, find Hiroki's father immediately. Meanwhile, Hiroki was watching the video he bought. The suspicious man that the otaku recorded was none other than his own father. Early the next morning, Masakio went to the TV station and questioned Makoto about her relationship with Hiroki. "What exactly are you two?" Makoto replied in a second, "We are work partners." Masakio said straight up, "That guy has a problem." Makoto laughed and asked, "Do you think Hiroki is the Horus killer? I came all the way here. Do you think I am joking?" Makoto did not believe him. After work, she went to the Shinjuku neighborhood and handed out flyers, reminding everyone to beware of the Horus killer. Hiroki followed her from afar. All of a sudden, he saw a man in a hood. The sky gradually turned dark. Makoto walked into a small alley. The hooded man followed her. he pulled a dagger out of his pocket, getting closer and closer to Makoto. Hiroki suddenly appeared. He snatched the dagger away and pressed it against the hooded man's neck, growling in a low voice, "If you dare touch her, I will kill you." The hooded man ran for his life. Hiroki turned around. Not far away a camera was hanging on a utility pole. Makoto in the distance noticed nothing. "Do you know about the Eye of Horus murders? Be careful on May 5th, if you see anyone suspicious." A week later, Makoto ran into the otaku again. The young guy said, "Stop handing those out. No one cares. Compared to this, the guy from last time was better. If he can find the killer." "A bit of rule breaking is nothing," Hiroki said. "As long as they catch the killer, nothing else matters. As long as no one else gets hurt. This money means nothing." Makoto searched for a long time and finally found Hiroki. She handed him money and said the otaku returned the money. Besides that, it seemed she had really fallen for Hiroki. While the two were in sweet moments, Owada went to see the coroner Matsumura. Because the autopsy of Hiroki's mother was done by this guy, the police suspected Hiroki at first because Matsumura raised the doubt. Owada wanted to know why this was happening. Matsumura said when he arrived at the crime scene, the blood on Hiroki's clothes was already dry. Masakio cut in. "What do you mean? If that kid called the police right after finding his mom dead, how could the blood dry so fast? But if that kid did not call the police right away, what was he doing at the crime scene? Use your tiny brain and think." Masakio widened his eyes and asked, "You mean Hiroki's dad took the blame for him?" Matsumura shrugged. "Who knows?" Early the next morning, Noda handed her an old newspaper. He said he heard from a new guy yesterday that Makoto seemed to be dating that Hiroki. Last month, a cop came asking for this newspaper. Noda kindly reminded her the police have already listed Hiroki's dad as a suspect. "You better be careful." Makoto remembered all of Hiroki's actions. Could it be he wanted to clear his father's name? Noda let out a long sigh. What kind of brain logic is that? I am going to meet him right now. Thanks for telling me this. What Makoto did not know was that yesterday evening, Noda had met Hiroki's dad. That man not only failed to call the police, he even helped Hiroki's dad escape the investigation. The day after tomorrow would be May 5th, the task force leaders held a meeting, gathering everyone to guard the entire city. They must not let the killer strike again. Masakio felt this case had nothing to do with Hiroki's dad. Hiroki was more likely to be the killer. "Do you have proof? If you do not assume guilt. Let us catch Hiroki's dad first." After work that day, Masakio, who refused to believe it, visited Hiroki's house once more. There was a delivery slip on the door. It seemed Hiroki had not been home for days. A note was stuck there. Time jumped forward to May 5th. The police and the media were all on edge. Serial killers usually have strong compulsions. Once they set a target, they will complete it no matter what. Based on the first 4 cases, the killer would act again tonight for sure. Makoto waited at the place she predicted, hoping to grab the first-hand footage. The strange thing is that Hiroki had suddenly disappeared. Makoto sent countless messages. She called him many times but Hiroki did not reply to any of them. What made it worse was that it started raining. The police had set up many checkpoints, but Shinjuku was huge. They could not watch every corner. Time kept passing. Makoto received a call from a coworker. It was almost midnight. There was no killer showing up at all. "Let us pull back." Makoto told the two of them to head home first. She stayed behind to keep waiting. Right after the call ended, Makoto saw a raincoat figure flash by. She glanced down at her camera. It still had battery, so she followed. After turning a corner, she looked around. There was no one. Only shadows, only silence. Makoto trembled in fear. But she still forced herself to raise the camera and slowly walked forward asking, "What are you doing here?" Makoto dropped her umbrella and broke into a run. The raincoat figure chased right after her. Makoto tried to call for help, but she could barely breathe. After sprinting through 2 narrow alleys, she slipped into a corner to hide. The intense running made her heart feel like it was climbing up her throat and about to burst out. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. More than 10 seconds passed. No one came after her. Makoto gathered her courage and leaned out half her body. The alley was empty. The raincoat figure lunged at her. The dagger raised high and stabbed down hard. Makoto lifted her hand and grabbed the attacker's arm. The dagger suddenly turned and sliced open Makoto's arm. Then it was raised high again, but Makoto blocked it. The raincoat figure used both hands. Makoto felt her mind go blank. The sharp blade was only a hair away from her forehead. At that critical moment, a police siren suddenly rang out in the distance. The raincoat figure got up and ran. Makoto saw the person's running shoes. That sound of footsteps felt very familiar. She had heard it before, and not just once. Where had she heard it? A memory flashed by. A blur in her mind. "Makoto, it's me." Hiroki looked at Makoto's arm. His eyes were full of worry. "Are you all right?" Makoto stayed silent, because she had already confirmed that the footsteps she heard were Hiroki's. Masakio arrived quickly. he grabbed Makoto in his arms and kept saying sorry again and again. Makoto's voice was very weak. Masakio felt a bit out of control. After letting go of Makoto, he turned to Hiroki and roared at the top of his lungs, 10 years ago you were the first one at the crime scene, and now it is you again. Owada rushed over and pulled Masakio back, telling them to get Makoto's wound treated first. The paramedics were just about to help. Matsumura pulled them aside. Without saying a word, he lifted his camera and took a burst of photos, then leaned close to the wound and said, "This is not right. This blade is too dull." In those period dramas where they swing the blade a few times and kill a bunch of people, that is all nonsense. Makoto asked right away, "You mean that knife had cut something or someone?" Matsumura said, "They would only know after running tests. Come on, take off the clothes first, there might be new clues." "Shut up, sorry, our forensic guy has no manners." Owada fast-forwarded through the entire footage. Makoto's camera did not capture the killer's face. The killer did not say a single word the whole time. Makoto only remembered that the person seemed to be wearing rubber gloves. Hiroki was also taken back to the station for questioning. Masakio got straight to the point. He asked where Hiroki was at the time. Hiroki said he was doing an interview, because he had to protect the source. He could not reveal who it was. Masakio immediately said, "So you have no alibi, right?" Hiroki nodded with attitude. Then Owada asked, "You care so much about this case. Why would you go out for an interview on such an important day?" Hiroki's face suddenly changed. He leaned forward and asked, "Officers, do you have proof that I am the killer?" Makoto returned to the TV station. Noda was arguing with the producer because Noda wanted Makoto to go on live broadcast. She was the only survivor. The views would explode. "Are you even human? She is in this state and you still want her to work?" "I do not agree," Noda argued back. "You do not understand reporters at all. With such shocking footage in hand, you ask her, would she really be willing to go home and sleep?" Makoto thought for a moment and said she was willing to go on the live show, but not for the views. She wanted to warn all women watching to be careful of the serial killer. At the same time, Hiroki walked out of the police station and returned to the place where Makoto had been attacked. He opened a storage locker. Inside that locker lay bloody clothes and rubber gloves covered in blood. Before the live show began, Makoto received a call from Masakio. The DNA test results were out and the conclusion was shocking. She hung up and walked into the studio, making her way into the live room. The host asked, "Was the person who attacked you the suspect from the Horus case?" Makoto answered, "It could not be confirmed yet, but 5 minutes ago, she received news from the police. After DNA testing, there was another woman's blood in her wound. In other words, the 5th murder might have already happened. She truly regretted not having the courage to catch the killer then. Everyone, I am sorry. I am really sorry." After the live broadcast ended, Makoto walked out of the TV station. Hiroki was already waiting. When Makoto saw her boyfriend, her legs went weak, she collapsed onto the ground. The terror of being stabbed kept rushing back. She was truly terrified. At the same time, Owada received a call from a coworker. The 5th victim had appeared. A moment passed. Owada walked out of the crime scene. Just as expected, that guy showed up again. The victim this time was named Kyoko, 42 years old, living alone. According to the police's first review, it was done by the Horus killer. The crime scene was only 200 meters from where Makoto was stabbed. DNA testing also proved that the blood in Makoto's wound belonged to Kyoko. After checking the crime scene, Makoto suddenly said she wanted to visit Hiroki's home. Hiroki said his place was too messy, he would invite her after he cleaned up, but the truth is Hiroki did not dare take her there because his house hid many secrets. The next day, Hiroki published an article. He actually revealed the killer's gloves and weapon, and they matched the police's clues perfectly. The task force held another meeting. On the night Kyoko was killed, a camera caught Hiroki's dad on the street. They could issue an arrest warrant now. Matsumura suddenly cut in. On Kyoko's arm, there was a very clear needle mark. Based on the amount of blood at the scene, the killer drew some of the victim's blood before killing her and took that blood away. Masakio suddenly rushed forward. He took out the delivery slip they found earlier and said that Hiroki had ordered syringes online. The killer was not Hiroki's dad, it was Hiroki. The task force leader said this counts as a legal investigation and it will damage police credibility. After arguing back, he told everyone to continue with the original plan. They would arrest Hiroki's dad first. After everyone left, Owada reminded Masakio, "Are you stupid? Do you think the leaders do not care about their reputation? If the Horus killer was actually Hiroki, then the case from 10 years ago might also have been done by him. Do you think the leaders would admit the police arrested the wrong man?" At the TV station, Makoto received an anonymous letter. She opened it, and it turned out to be documents from Hiroki's mother's case. After that case happened, the police detained Hiroki, but they had not found any results yet. When Hiroki's dad suddenly turned himself in, the investigation was forced to shift direction, and the case ended with his dad going to prison. Makoto was very curious about who would send her something like this. After work that day, Masakio sent a message, saying all 5 victims had needle marks on their wrists. Kumiko was a nurse, Makoto asked with curiosity. Is drawing blood difficult? Kumiko paused and said not really, you just need practice. After saying that, she put down her bowl. There was something she had kept in her heart for a long time now. Kumiko's co-worker said about 10 years ago, Hiroki worked here as a security guard, and they started dating. At that time she had just joined the hospital. She practiced drawing blood at home. Hiroki wanted to learn as well. She thought he was joking at first, but he learned with surprising seriousness. Makoto asked, why did you two break up? The nurse said that Hiroki suddenly disappeared. He disappeared for half a year, so the relationship ended with no result. Later, that guy even became a famous host club worker, which was truly strange. Makoto walked out of the hospital. Kumiko explained that the last time she saw Hiroki, she felt like she had seen him somewhere. Then she suddenly remembered a coworker had introduced him to her. After hearing this, Makoto said, do not tell Masakio about this for now. People at the club said that Hiroki was incredible. He made enough money to quit in less than a year. At that moment, Makoto's curiosity reached its peak. She made a call and asked where Hiroki was. On the other end, Hiroki said he would be writing at a cafe tonight and would return very late. Makoto put down the phone and followed the address in the records to find Hiroki's home. The front door was locked. Makoto found the building manager and introduced herself as Hiroki's girlfriend. Luckily the manager had seen her before, so he helped open the door. The room was dark. Makoto turned on her phone flashlight. The place was not messy like Hiroki claimed. By then Hiroki had sensed something was wrong and returned. Makoto searched through the whole place. The moment she opened the kitchen drawer, she saw the murder weapon released by the police. At that same moment, Hiroki was already walking up the stairs, only 10 steps away from the apartment door. Makoto stood up and opened the fridge. Suddenly, a mysterious woman appeared behind her. What are you doing here? Was Hiroki the real killer? Why would he target Makoto, if Hiroki was not the killer? Then who was the true Horus murderer, who committed the case from 10 years ago? Follow the channel to get the notification for the next episode. See you. This is the most mind-twisting film of 2025. Back in 2015, a woman was found stabbed to death in her home. The one who called the police was her son Hiroki. Not long after, Hiroki's father turned himself in. He admitted to killing his ex-wife. The court sentenced him to 10 years in prison. Time flies and 10 years pass. Hiroki's dad has just been released, and Tokyo is hit by a series of murders. All the victims are female office workers. The crime scenes look exactly the same as the case of Hiroki's mom 10 years ago. The only difference is that the killer puts cosmetic contact lenses on every victim. The 4 crime dates are January 1st, February 2nd, March 3rd, and April 4th, and they all tied to work locations and homes in Minato Ward. The killer is very likely to strike again on May 5th. A TV station launches a special program, blowing up the news about this serial murder case. The show's director Makoto runs into Hiroki during an interview. The kid has now become a rising star reporter. He gave the serial killer the nickname Horus. After talking back and forth, they eventually become a couple, but Makoto has no idea that Hiroki approached her with a purpose. Detectives Owada and Masakio from the task force discover that the case of Hiroki's mom hides another truth. According to Coroner Matsumura's memory, when he arrived at the crime scene back then, the blood on Hiroki had already dried, which was extremely strange, because if Hiroki had found his mother's body and called the police immediately, the blood could not have dried that fast. And what's even more coincidental is that the Horus killer left a bloody footprint at the scene. And this footprint matches the sneakers Hiroki always wears. The first suspect is Hiroki's dad. 10 years ago he admitted to killing his ex-wife, and 10 years later the murders happened again. All the victims are women. Could he be killing out of hatred toward women? The second suspect is the reporter Hiroki himself. After the Horus killings began, he always arrives at the crime scenes first as if he already knew a murder would happen there. Could he be the killer? Time flashes to May 5th. The killer is very likely to strike again tonight. Makoto dives into danger for an exclusive report and unexpectedly bumps into a man in a raincoat. She gathers her courage and follows him, but she never imagined he would suddenly pull out a weapon. Makoto is pushed down to the ground. Luckily a police car passes by. The man in the raincoat runs off immediately. His terrifying footsteps echo non-stop. Makoto would never have imagined that the footsteps of the attacker just now sounded exactly like her boyfriend Hiroki's footsteps. The next day, a new victim appears, once again a female office worker. Coroner Matsumura discovers needle marks on the victim's wrist. Judging from the amount of blood lost, the killer likely took some of the victim's blood away. Not long ago, Detective Masakio accidentally found out that Hiroki once bought syringes online, and this Masakio happens to be Makoto's high school classmate. He tells Makoto to stay away from Hiroki, but this only makes Makoto even more curious. Makoto goes to Hiroki's home alone. She searches through everything and actually finds a knife identical to the murder weapon. Makoto stands up, the moment she opens the fridge. What are you doing here? Who are you? Ever since Hiroki met you, he has changed. Rizumu, stop talking. Give my Hiroki back to me. So you already have a girlfriend. Makoto leaves with a broken heart. Hiroki tries to chase after her, but Rizumu grabs his arm. Kumiko is shocked when Makoto tells her what just happened. Hiroki looks like such a gentle warm guy, how could he be dating two girls at once? Makoto shrugs, people are not always what they seem. The next day, a delivery guy named Itsuki arrives at the TV station, wanting to report something about that strange coroner. Makoto remembers Matsumura. Itsuki says last time when he delivered food to the police station, he overheard that Matsumura seems obsessed with fresh blood. Didn't the newspaper say the killer likes to take the victim's blood? Makoto recalls the night she was attacked. Matsumura arrived surprisingly fast, even faster than the detectives, and in the case of Hiroki's mother 10 years ago, Matsumura was also the first to arrive at the crime scene. Could it be that the third suspect is Coroner Matsumura? His obsession with fresh blood is something he cannot explain, and he always shows up at the murder scenes first. Could he be the real killer? At the police station, Matsumura finds Masakio. He just checked the case files and discovered that Hiroki's mom was a carrier of type C hepatitis B. This clue is extremely important. Masakio looks it up online and finds that this illness can sometimes be passed from mother to child, which means Hiroki might also be a carrier. He takes blood from the victims, maybe because he longs for healthy blood. Masakio sends a message to Kumiko, wanting to confirm this matter again. Kumiko finishes reading and is about to reply, but when she looks up, she sees Hiroki. What is that guy doing at the hospital? A short while later, Detective Owada calls Itsuki to the station, because on the night of May 5th, he was delivering food near the crime scene. Itsuki gets excited, thinking Detective Owada wants to hire him as a detective, but Owada smiles and says, we suspect you might be involved in the case. Itsuki feels his heart freeze instantly. He quickly shows his phone. On the night of May 5th, he indeed delivered food near the crime scene, but every delivery required a time-stamped photo, so he had no time to commit the crime. Owada says she knows. They just have to follow procedure. After Itsuki signs the statement, Owada walks him out, but she misses a step and falls down the stairs. The fourth suspect is the delivery guy Itsuki. He is very close with Owada, Masakio, Makoto, and Noda. He has appeared near crime scenes many times, plus he is extremely invested in this case. Could he be the killer? At the TV station, Noda plans to film an episode interviewing victims' families. Makoto heads out with the cameraman. She runs straight into Hiroki. This guy looks totally unfazed. He shamelessly follows her around. Makoto finally cannot take it anymore. She demands to know why Hiroki lied to her. Hiroki stays silent for a moment and then says that Rizumu is not his girlfriend. Makoto immediately asks, then who is she? Hiroki lowers his head and stays completely silent. The sky slowly turns dark. Detective Owada walks into a rice ball shop and buys a few seaweed rice rolls. On her way home, she runs into Itsuki. The two start chatting casually. Itsuki says he grew up in a single-parent family. His mom worked extremely hard, so after finishing high school, he started delivering food right away. Owada's child is the same age as Itsuki. Her son also feels she works too hard and does not want to continue studying. You really are a good kid. Your mom is blessed to have you. Meanwhile, Makoto returns home and sees that Masakio has arrived. Makoto already knows what Masakio wants to say. She tells him that she has already broken up with Hiroki and tells him not to worry. Masakio blurts out instinctively, why? Makoto says there is another woman living in Hiroki's home. She was lied to. Hearing this makes Masakio both happy and sad. Happy because he has secretly loved Makoto, now he finally has a chance. Sad because seeing the girl he likes hurting makes him ache too, so he still chooses to comfort her. Maybe she is his sister. Makoto asks whether Hiroki has a sister. Only then does Masakio remember that they already checked Hiroki's background long ago. His household records show no siblings at all. After hearing this, Makoto walks upstairs feeling completely defeated. The next day, she walks through the TV station entrance and unexpectedly sees Rizumu there. The girl opens her mouth and says, do not go near Hiroki anymore. I heard you are not his girlfriend. We are accomplices. Can you truly make up your mind to stand with us? Meanwhile, Hiroki opens the fridge at home and the 2 bags of blood are gone. The 5th suspect is Rizumu. Her relationship with Hiroki is vague and unclear. She even admits she is his accomplice. What exactly have these two done? Is it about the case of his mother or the Horus murders? Could Rizumu be the real killer? In a cafe, the show's rookie director Kinoshita is complaining to senior reporter Hiroki. Yesterday the program he made with Makoto ran into trouble. The family of the first victim lost control during the interview and cursed the killer. Why don't you taste what it feels like to have family murdered? After the broadcast, he was mocked by viewers, saying he never cared about his wife while she was alive, but now he was putting on a show after she died. The issue kept spreading and turned into online harassment. The station director scolded Chief Director Noda this morning and said he and Makoto might be suspended. After hearing this, Hiroki says manipulating public opinion is very easy. All it takes is someone to make up a story, and the so-called truth will lodge itself into people's minds. That night, on her way home, Makoto faintly feels someone following her. The footsteps grow closer and closer. Makoto starts running desperately, she is tackled to the ground. Hiroki suddenly appears and throws the attacker aside in one move. Makoto asks while panting hard, "Why are you here?" Hiroki answers without thinking, "Of course I am here to protect you." After hearing that, Makoto leaves without saying a word. The next day is the weekend. Kumiko invites Makoto to a tea house. She wants to create a chance for Masakio to confess his feelings. Makoto is completely unaware of the plan. But before Masakio arrives, Makoto sees a long article written by Hiroki. The guy publicly admits that he is the son of a murderer. 10 years ago, his mother was stabbed 13 times. He fainted when he saw it. After waking up, he called the police, but the police considered him a suspect. His dad was released from prison at the end of last year. This series of murders might be done by his father. Before she finishes reading the article, this report is meant to divert public attention. As long as someone makes up a story, the so-called truth will lodge itself into people's minds. Kinoshita guesses that Hiroki is doing this to shift the pressure, to help the victims' families and also to help him and Makoto, because yesterday he told Hiroki that their program might be cancelled. Makoto hangs up the phone and rushes out of the tea house. She bumps straight into Masakio. "I like you." "I am sorry." Kumiko walks over, wanting to comfort him but not knowing how to begin. She has secretly liked Masakio for many years and has never had the courage to say it. More than an hour later, Makoto finally saw Hiroki. On her way here, she thought about countless things, but the more she thought, the more confused she became. She no longer knew who she should believe. All the evidence clearly pointed at Hiroki, yet Hiroki kept helping every victim again and again. Just as Hiroki was about to explain, Makoto suddenly kissed him. That night, every unspoken word melted into heavy breaths. Time seemed to freeze, leaving only 2 pounding hearts. Moonlight turned into silver paint, brushing 2 twisted silhouettes across the sheer curtain. At the police station, Masakio received a call from Owada that afternoon, thanks to her old classmate Noda. Owada found a film analysis company. This company specialized in dissecting footage. She discovered that Hiroki was not the killer. Masakio frowned. He had not even spoken yet. Owada continued. She said she had checked something at the hospital and would return after confirming the details. After hanging up, Owada stopped Nurse Kumiko and said she wanted to ask something. The hospital security guard accidentally noticed blood splattered on the floor. He held up his flashlight and walked forward. Then he witnessed a terrifying scene. The 6th suspect is Makoto's best friend, Nurse Kumiko. She had hinted to Makoto more than once that Hiroki is the murderer. Could she be the real killer? What clue did Owada uncover before her tragic death? Why did she insist that Hiroki was not the true murderer? Matsumura was again the first to arrive at the scene. By the time Masakio arrived, all the tests had already been completed. Facing the loss of his mentor, Masakio completely broke down. Masakio cried out for Owada. After Owada's body was taken away, Kumiko walked out from the hospital. She sat down beside Masakio. Just moments ago, Owada had found her and asked her a strange question. Hiroki burned the syringe. The next day, the incident appeared on the morning news. Online detectives started their wild reasoning. This time the killer broke the pattern. Based on the original logic, the murder should have happened on June 6th. So many people concluded that this one was a copycat case. The copycat ignored the detail about the cosmetic lenses and the work looked unprofessional. Matsumura said the weapon is the exact same knife. Masakio said Owada told him on the phone last night that Hiroki was not the killer behind the Horus case. Masakio reported to the task force leader that before dying, Owada had asked Kumiko whether all the victims had taken a health check within the past 6 months. He had already asked a friend to verify it and it turned out to be true. The killer seemed to have a strange obsession with healthy blood. Meanwhile, Makoto was tracking Hiroki on the night Owada was stabbed. She had secretly installed a tracker on Hiroki's phone while he was showering. Now she was following the signal. The tracker showed that Hiroki was near a rice ball shop. Owada used to buy rice balls there when she was alive. Just then Hiroki called her. Makoto pretended they ran into each other by chance. On their way back, Makoto once again asked Hiroki who that woman really was. Her question made Hiroki stop walking. After a long silent moment, he asked Makoto to come home with him, saying he would reveal every secret. Over half an hour later, Hiroki knocked on his door and asked Rizumu to come out. Makoto greeted her softly. Hiroki said Rizumu is his half-sister. This matter has to be traced back to when he was 7 years old. One day, a woman brought Rizumu to their house, saying she was his father's daughter. Hearing this made Hiroki's mom furious. She had been divorced for many years, so what did this child have to do with her? But that woman ignored everything. She dropped off Rizumu and walked away. Hiroki's mom had no choice but to take Rizumu in, but she never treated her kindly. Hiroki's mom said she was hungry. She complained that everything was annoying. She mocked Rizumu for being shameless. From that day on, Hiroki kept secretly taking care of his little sister. His mom never sent Rizumu to an orphanage. She told outsiders that Rizumu was a relative's child. Even without household registration, Rizumu was still allowed to attend school. When Rizumu turned 15, Hiroki's mom tried to kick her out. Hiroki exploded with anger. he ran away from home with his sister. From then on, they depended on each other, stumbling through life until now. After telling the story, Hiroki told Makoto to ask anything she wanted. He said he would answer every question honestly. With tears still on her face, Makoto asked, "What about the blood in the fridge?" Hiroki laughed and said that was soft-shell turtle blood. Rizumu had never eaten properly since childhood, which caused her to develop chronic anemia. Hiroki read online that soft-shell turtle blood was good for the body, so he bought it to help her recover. Makoto was filled with regret. Everything turned out to be a misunderstanding. Horace is getting out of control. This was unexpected. Maybe it is almost time. Not yet. Noda asked how long he planned to cover for his son. But Hiroki's dad said he was grateful and he would repay this favor one day. The seventh suspect is Makoto's superior, Owada's old classmate, Noda. He was the initiator of the Horace program. And he was also the one who told Owada about the case of Hiroki's mother 10 years ago. The film company Owada visited before her death was also introduced by Noda. He even knew Hiroki's dad. The two of them seemed quite familiar with each other. He said Horace was out of control, which suggested that the two of them might know the killer's identity, or were even the masterminds behind the entire case. All the suspects have now appeared, and with the evidence we have, who do you think the murderer really is? Lately, Kumiko's co-worker, Tuko, had been feeling uneasy. She asked to meet Makoto. There was something she had forgotten to say. Early this year, Hiroki once worked as a security guard at the hospital. At that time the blood bank inventory constantly failed to match the records. And after Hiroki quit, the numbers never went wrong again, meaning Hiroki may have stolen the hospital's blood. Kumiko also had something she hadn't said. Recently, she kept seeing Hiroki around the hospital. He wore glasses and a hat each time and looked very suspicious. Makoto asked the two women whether they had told anyone else. They both shook their heads. Makoto begged them not to reveal this to anyone. This scene was witnessed from afar by Kinoshita. Soon after, Noda confronted Makoto and said that she actually dared to protect a murderer. Makoto instinctively looked toward Kinoshita. The young man lowered his head and whispered sorry. Noda told him not to blame himself. This was for his own safety. He said Hiroki was already losing control and asked if he knew what this behavior was called, obstructing justice. Starting today, he should stop being the show's director. When Makoto arrived home, Kumiko was already waiting. She thought about everything over and still felt something was wrong with Hiroki. But Makoto had already fallen too deep. Seeing Makoto ignore her, Kumiko raised her voice more and more, which only made Makoto angrier. Their argument escalated into a full-blown fight. More than 20 years of friendship ended unhappily. The next day was the funeral. Masakio apologized to Owada's son and swore he would catch the killer as soon as possible. Itsuki was just as heartbroken. Owada had treated him like her own son. He also swore to Owada's son that he would help Masakio catch the killer quickly. Meanwhile at the TV station, Makoto submitted a proposal to Noda. She wanted to do an exclusive interview that would explode across the entire internet. The moment the elevator doors opened, Hiroki stepped into the station. After that self-written accusation piece about Hiroki's dad was published, many people began to suspect that Hiroki was the real killer. He decided to accept Makoto's interview as a suspected murderer. Makoto asked if he was the killer and whether he had committed the murders. Hiroki said no. It was clear that Makoto had personal motives for this exclusive interview. She wanted to prove her boyfriend was innocent. On their way home, she and Hiroki ran into Itsuki. He suddenly rushed over, pulled out a handful of Hiroki's hair and ran off. Masakio curiously asked where he got it. Itsuki said he had just yanked it off Hiroki's head. He asked if this would actually help. Masakio said the court would never accept this kind of evidence. Besides, they did not even have the killer's DNA. So there was nothing to compare with. The next day was the weekend. Kumiko gathered her courage and asked Hiroki out. She warned him not to go near Makoto anymore. Hiroki softly asked if she thought he was the killer. Kumiko said she did not know, but what she did know was that Makoto was acting very strange. She could no longer listen to anyone. Hiroki smiled. Then his expression suddenly changed as he said, "How long do you plan to keep pretending?" What exactly did Hiroki say that made Kumiko tremble all over? We will pause that part for now. A few days later, Makoto finally had a rare day off. She took Hiroki back to her hometown. The moment she got off the bus, she walked straight into a bakery. It was her favorite shop when she was little. She had not eaten it for many years, but after taking a bite, she realized it did not taste as good as she remembered. Hiroki said she was not missing the bread itself, but the people she used to eat it with, and since those people were no longer here, the taste of the bread naturally changed as well. As the two kept walking, they arrived at a park. Makoto said the cherry blossoms here used to be stunning when they bloomed. She remembered many years ago, she helped a girl right here, and later the girl's brother came looking for her, wailing out loud, crying so terribly. Hiroki suddenly laughed, saying it was not that dramatic. He had only shed 2 tears. In that instant, Makoto finally understood. That boy wouldn't happen to be you, right? Hiroki says who else could it be? While the two are talking, far away in Tokyo, Masakio is staking out in front of Hiroki's home. He turns his head for a second and unexpectedly sees Hiroki's dad. He rushes to chase after him. Rizumu grabs her luggage and slips out at that moment. Not far away, Itsuki has just bought his lunch and bumps right into Noda and Hiroki's dad. He follows them out of curiosity, wondering why those two are together. He keeps tailing them, but at the intersection the two split up, each heading in a different direction. Itsuki thinks for a moment. If he wants to find Noda, he can always go to the TV station, so he decides to follow Hiroki's dad. The man turns into a small entrance. The trail leads to a kindergarten. Soon they end up near a residence in Minato Ward. If we follow the earlier pattern, the killer in the Horus case could strike again today. Both the media and the police are on edge. Makoto has been waiting for this day for a long time. Tonight is the best chance to catch the killer. She teams up with Hiroki and combs through the streets, hoping to capture the first exclusive footage. They wait until past 11 and still there is no update from the police. Makoto says the last time the killer murdered Awada, would that life be counted as the June 6th case? Hiroki thinks since they already waited this long, they might as well wait until after midnight. After saying that, he tells Makoto to hold on. He needs to run to the restroom fast. He can't hold it anymore. Makoto waits and waits. After more than 10 minutes, a bad feeling slowly rises in her mind. She instinctively takes out her phone. She opens the tracking app and sees that Hiroki is inside a nearby house. What is going on? Makoto follows the navigation and walks over. The front door of the house is unexpectedly open. Inside the place is completely dark. Makoto lifts her camera. She steps through the entrance and the hallway. The moment she reaches the stairs, she smells something strange. Hiroki says, "Didn't I tell you to stay still?" Makoto feels like she is dreaming. But the strong smell of blood keeps reminding her this is not a dream. Suddenly sirens blare outside the house. Hiroki turns around and escapes through the window. Makoto's consciousness starts to fade. She vaguely hears hurried footsteps. Then she hears the police saying the victim is still breathing. She doesn't know how much time has passed. When she finally pulls herself together, she is sitting in the police interrogation chair. "You installed a tracker on his phone. I always trusted him." The news spreads online in an instant. The label of being the real killer sticks firmly onto Hiroki, as if he knew he would be exposed. When the police arrive at Hiroki's rented room, the place is so clean it looks like no one ever lived there. Rizumu had already left days earlier under the protection of Hiroki's dad. A few days later, 3 old classmates gather together. Makoto still looks lost. She cannot believe Hiroki is a murderer. Kumiko suddenly speaks up. Not long ago she once went to find Hiroki and he said one thing to her. He said, "Watch over Makoto. Don't let her get killed." Masakio immediately realizes something. What does that sentence even mean? Does it mean he wants to hurt Makoto? Kumiko says it sounds strange, right? Before Makoto can even react, a massive explosive report hits the headlines. Hiroki suddenly announces to the public that he is the real killer behind the Horus case. Right after that, on the suspect's own written notes, a second, third and fourth article are released one after another. In his writings, Hiroki openly admits that the real killer from 10 years ago was also him. He says he hated his mother. She acted like an elite and she looked down on poor people. These reports spark a strange resonance among some troubled teens. Some people start copying the Horus outfit. They put on black raincoats and wear mismatched colored lenses. This trend blows up for half a month straight. Makoto spends every day living in fear. One day the doorbell suddenly rings. She looks through the peephole and sees no one outside. Surprise! It gives her a big scare. It turns out Itsuki is delivering food. Masakio ordered takeout to help her. Kumiko arrives at the same time. The two people inside have no idea that Hiroki is downstairs right now. The next day, Noda comes to visit Makoto. Lately, the hype around the Horus case has slowly died down, but Makoto still hasn't recovered. She rereads Hiroki's articles over and over these days, feeling like he is describing a stranger. Noda sees that she looks a little better and hands her the package of gimbap. Makoto can't help complaining. "Why can't you throw your own trash away? The trash bin is right there." "That is not trash." "Not far away." Itsuki at the street corner gets startled. Before Kinoshita can speak, Itsuki rushes to explain. He says last time he saw the two meeting, he followed Hiroki's dad and ended up with a knife held against him. Luckily he was brave enough and managed to scare off Hiroki's dad. "Are you playing detective?" "No, it was just a coincidence." "I am really sorry." Meanwhile, Makoto returns home and finds that the wrapper Noda gave her has the name of a rice ball shop written on it. Makoto follows the map to the store. She waits there from daytime until dusk. Just when she is about to leave, Hiroki's dad suddenly appears. "You must be Miss Makoto." As soon as she enters, she asks, "What is your relationship with Director Noda?" Hiroki's dad says not long after he went to prison, Noda kept writing letters to him, saying he wanted to make a special interview. At first he ignored him, but Noda kept writing non-stop and insisted in every letter that he was not the killer. The truth is he really did not kill his ex-wife. Makoto quickly asks, then why did you confess? Hiroki's dad admits that at that time the police were investigating Hiroki. He was afraid they would find out Hiroki was the real killer, so he took the blame for him. After serving 10 years of wrongful imprisonment, the moment he got out, he heard about the serial murders and suspected they were done by Hiroki, which is why he appeared at the crime scenes to create suspicion on himself. At the same time he was tracking Hiroki, hoping to convince his son to stop as soon as possible. That is why he attacked Makoto last time, because he urgently wanted to meet Hiroki. Sorry for scaring you. Hiroki is not a killer. The one who killed Hiroki's mom was actually me. Only now does Makoto understand. Rizumu suffers from aplastic anemia. Because she has no household registration, she cannot get medical insurance, so she kept delaying treatment and could only survive by receiving blood transfusions. At first Hiroki worked part-time to buy blood, but later the two simply could not endure anymore, so they went to ask Hiroki's mom for help. When she found out her son was working at a host club, she was so furious that she lost control. She grabbed a knife and lunged at Rizumu. Makoto quickly notices a key detail in her words. She asks Rizumu, "You only stabbed once, right?" Rizumu says of course, she did not mean to do it. Makoto recalls the old case. Someone once mailed her the full case file. Hiroki's mom had been stabbed 13 times. Wounds covered her entire body. If Rizumu is telling the truth, then the real killer must be someone else. But unfortunately, Rizumu suffered severe psychological trauma and remembers nothing from that night. The moment she smells the tea, a chill runs down Makoto's spine. That smell, she smelled it not long ago. Hiroki releases his 7th article. In it he says that tonight he will complete his final curtain call. He will livestream it to the whole internet. At the same time, Noda arrives at a friend's film studio and obtains the footage Owada sent for analysis. You really came all the way here for me to kill you. How stupid. Hiroki starts the live stream and declares he is going to kill Makoto. Suddenly a beam of flashlight cuts through the dark. Hiroki squints his eyes. It turns out to be the delivery guy Itsuki. This guy is holding a tiny plastic fork from instant noodles and threatens Hiroki to put the knife down. Itsuki says let Makoto go right now. What happened? Why did the stream cut off? What is going on? What is the situation now? Itsuki smashes the computer in anger and tears off his disguise. His voice turns cold and sinister. He questions Hiroki. How dare you act on your own? Makoto suddenly blurts out. I knew it was you. Itsuki laughs and asks, what do you mean you knew? Did you already know it was me? Makoto says, the raincoat guy on May 5th was you, right? Correct. How did you figure it out? Makoto says it was the smell. At that time she could not be certain, but on June 6th, when she went upstairs, she smelled the same scent again. Itsuki says that is right. He was standing by the staircase then. Makoto realized that scent was the same as when Itsuki delivered food. The air freshener fell out. Later when Kumiko made tea, she smelled the same fragrance again. Itsuki pulls out the air freshener to cover the smell of blood. He chose an extra strong scent, but unfortunately Makoto noticed it too late. As Itsuki talks, he pulls the murder tools out of his bag. At the same time, Noda bursts into the police station, wanting to submit an important piece of evidence. You are really too aggressive. Just look at this first. How about it? Same model, right? Makoto asks Hiroki, what exactly is your relationship with him? Hiroki says on the night his mother was killed, when he rushed home, he saw a horrific bloody scene. What the hell? There is another person. Itsuki suddenly appears. Hiroki trembles and asks who are you? Itsuki smiles and says he came to kill, but Rizumu beat him to it. Hiroki shouts impossible. His sister could never kill someone. Itsuki removes his mask and says everyone carries the urge to kill deep inside. They just prefer to hide it. He originally wondered how he should cover up this whole thing, but now it is simple. He just needs to kill Hiroki and let Rizumu take the blame. Hiroki angrily demands, why are you doing this? Itsuki says, because your mother mocked my mother, just because she got the payment amount wrong. She was mocked for never having gone to school, mocked for having no education. People from that arrogant elite class. Killing them will never feel enough. Back at the police station, Noda publicly shows the footage Owada uncovered. The film company reconstructed the skeleton frame and compared it with the raincoat man, who attacked Makoto on May 5th, and before this, Hiroki had also held a knife in the same pose. The test proved they were not the same person. I won't tell anyone I saw you. Let's end this here. No. Itsuki thought for a moment and said, how about this? He used to think killing someone was terrifying, but after he did it, he felt insanely excited, so he wanted to experience it a few more times. That girl Rizumu is sick, isn't she? So here's the deal. From now on he will handle the killing, and Hiroki will handle the blood drawing. Each of them gets what they want. If everything gets exposed, Hiroki will take the blame and go to jail. How about that? After saying this, Itsuki raised his knife, forcing Hiroki to choose one of the two. He could only agree. Makoto heard this and roared, How can you listen to someone like him? Hiroki told Itsuki. If it weren't for all this, Rizomu could have been cured long ago. After saying that, he charged forward. Itsuki couldn't dodge and was knocked to the ground. The blade hung in, and just as it was about to strike down, Makoto pushed Hiroki aside, telling him not to act on impulse, but Itsuki instantly got up and grabbed the knife. Itsuki pinned Hiroki against the container. The blade pressed closer and closer. Hiroki said not long ago, he went to visit his mother's grave and saw Itsuki's mother there too. Even though she remarried and has another child, she still loves you deep down. That one sentence hit Itsuki's most sensitive nerve. He went crazy and slashed again and again. The final strike pierced through Hiroki's thigh, blood splattered everywhere. Makoto rushed in swinging a stool, but she was taken hostage by Itsuki instead. He ripped off the hidden camera on her clothes. This guy pulled out the memory card, and right in front of them, the evidence that could convict him was swallowed into his stomach. Suddenly Itsuki started hurting himself. Then he began telling his version of the story. The version the police were about to hear was that he fought desperately to protect Makoto, but he was still one step too late. Makoto was killed by Hiroki, and he killed Hiroki in self-defense. The police might have doubts, but the law will follow the rule of presuming innocence when in doubt. As soon as he finished speaking, police sirens rang outside the warehouse. Itsuki stretched his muscles a bit. It was time to end this game. Hiroki risked his life and blocked the blade, pushing Itsuki down to the floor. Makoto threw herself forward. But when she turned back, Itsuki was already standing again. His eyes were wide with rage. He charged at them with the knife. At the critical moment, Masakio arrived with his team. He arrested Itsuki on the spot for attempted murder. The charge was clear and immediate, right before losing consciousness. Hiroki said he had planned to turn himself in after making sure Rizomu was safe. He never expected to meet Makoto again, but that reunion made him want to hold on to life. Thinking back now, he really was so selfish. A few hours later, Hiroki was rushed to the nearest hospital. The police did arrest Itsuki quickly, but they still had no evidence to convict him. Thankfully Hiroki had planned ahead. A hidden camera he placed at the scene recorded the entire process of Itsuki committing the crime. Faced with such solid proof, Itsuki admitted, his only regret was killing Detective Owada, because she treated him like her own child. But sadly, that day when she called him to the station, he pretended to sign with his left hand, but in the critical moment, he caught her with his right. Maybe that was fate. Relying on her instinct as a veteran detective, she tracked him through the rice ball shop and the hospital. In the end, he had no choice. He had to do it. A few months passed. The Horus case finally went to trial. Itsuki was sentenced to death. The sixth victim also woke up. She told the police how Hiroki stopped her bleeding and called the ambulance for her. But the undeniable truth is Hiroki was still an accomplice in the Horus case. Time flew by and a year passed. Hiroki walked into the courtroom. After several rounds of hearings, the judge made the final ruling, sentencing Hiroki to 15 years in prison. That's the plot summary of Koi wa Yami. Did you guess who the killer was? Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.